Good morning, everyone. It's Emily Petrova here from the Improvement Service, and today I'm also joined by two of my colleagues, Claire Sherry, Senior Project Manager, and Kelly Hunkin, Senior Business Analyst. Thank you very much for joining today's webinar on the change framework. So to give you a little bit of background, we had our first webinar on the change framework concept back in August, and since then we have developed it further and also tested with several councils, and we currently have over 100 people signed up to it. So in terms of today's webinar, Claire and Kelly will first of all talk you through the change framework, so what kind of elements we have on it, how to use them, really handy if you're new or have not long been using Office 365 or SharePoint, and then we'll, after that we'll take some questions. And then again, Claire and Sherry will talk you through some of the tools that we have in the framework, and we'll do another Q&A. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Emily. Hi everybody, it's Claire Sherry here. So I just kind of wanted to give some of the identified need and some of the background to the change framework just before we give you the walkthrough. Just, I guess, as a bit of context, and I guess some of you might have had or seen the webinar back in August, or you might have had us out because we have showcased it to a couple of councils, but just to kind of refresh it in your mind. The other thing to say, just as we go through, if you've got any questions or any thoughts, comments, please do just let us know. There's a little grey box on your right-hand side, so anything there at all, just stick them in, and like Emily said, we'll do a Q&A after kind of each segment, so we can pick up anything at that point. So I guess in terms of the identified need, back at probably about this time last year, we put out a survey around all kind of change managers, PMO teams, etc., about what the situation was within their own councils, what types of areas of support they would need from improvement service, is there anything that we could work on together. So from that, we collated all the answers, we got them in the kind of about January, February time, we circulated a report which you might have seen. In terms of some of the kind of key points that were identified, it was around support around wider strategic planning, links about transformational change between like your kind of standard change projects and your local outcome improvement plans, which if you're not sure of, they're your kind of previous SOAs or the new version of. There was also quite a lot of comments coming back from the survey feedback about how we make the links between self-evaluation, performance management and your projects. Obviously there's a lots of stuff going on in the councils, and some people were kind of, I guess, basically not kind of seeing the wood for the trees, if you like. So that is another thing that came up. A big area again that comes up, and to be honest, it comes up a lot when we're going out kind of visiting councils, is round about support with the change, and it's around the cultural aspect of projects. People obviously have a lot of projects on the go, but obviously quite a lot of them is about keeping the sustainability of the projects and about actually changing how people do their work. So that came out a lot as well, about quite a lot of the reasons why some of the projects had challenges to them. And then the kind of last area that came out through the survey was around the change management capacity and about the kind of lack of capacity across councils, particularly on the business analysis side. So based on that, I guess, like Emily said, we kind of showcased a bit of an initial concept back in August around this. And I guess what we were trying to do with the change framework is trying to pull out some of these key points, trying to bring together how you would maybe use, like, for example, your performance management information to inform your change projects. We were trying to develop tools as well around, for example, business analysis that develop them once so that they don't need to get developed 32 times over. It's not saying that everything we've got is going to be absolutely fit for your own council or for your working with partners, but what we try to do is have something there that's at least a basis based on what the need that you guys are telling us that you have. So in terms of what this framework is intending to do, it is meant to be about a kind of holistic approach to change. It's bringing in all those kind of corporate areas across the council that might inform your change projects. It's also about reducing silo working. It's about thinking, how can we work together better? If you've maybe got a good piece of work or really good project that you've delivered in your own service area, not only is it good to share it across your own council and other departments there, but also sharing it with other councils. because what we've seen when we've been going out and talking to people and discussing with them is very much the same things that are getting picked up across the country. The other thing that we should say is, obviously we've developed this framework, and I guess primarily we were initially thinking it would be for kind of change teams or PMO teams, project managers, but I think from what you'll see when we start to kind of go through and walk you through it, there's also some elements in it that might be useful for showcasing to like service managers if you're going to deliver a project with them. Then there might be bits in there that you might want to pick up. The other thing as well is there may be some elements as well that even for councillors, for them to understand how the wider picture fits together. Like I said as well, the framework's got a lot of kind of tools and templates and resources, and that's something that we are trying to build up as we go as well, based on comments and feedback from yourselves. So that is why today it is really important if you have any thoughts or ideas that you can let us know about them. I guess the other thing to say in terms of what the framework is not going to do, it's not going to say that you need to use a specific change management methodology or a specific project management methodology. We know that all councils have their own unique way of doing things, and that's not for us to say whether you should change to something else. What we're trying to do with it is give you ideas about how you can use different tools and processes. So if there's bits that work for you, then that's great, and there's other bits that might, because of your own situation, you might want something else. So that's absolutely perfect. The other thing to say, what we've done with the change framework, we've based it on the kind of plan, do, check, act cycle. So within that, there's, Kelly will talk us through in more detail when she does the walkthrough, but basically we've got the kind of cycle, and within that we've got different levels of detail. So we've got our change management layer, which I guess is where we're trying to kind of go into a kind of more strategic view, and this is about considering things like your local outcome improvement plan, thinking about national policies, and it's also about getting back to the point when I made about the identified need, is thinking about the culture and thinking about how important it is to ensure that you've got the community aspect within your projects, if that's relevant, but also thinking about the people aspect as well within your own staffing groups. The kind of other layer down we've got is a project management. So this is your more traditional of how to manage and deliver a project, or how to plan, manage and deliver a project. So we've got some various resources in there, some templates. Like I said though, there's some councils that have obviously quite well developed and have their own methodology in place. So this element might not be relevant, but for others it hopefully will be. And then the other kind of layer we've got is about improvement processes. So this is your more business analysis, and this will be when Kelly and I talk through a couple of the tools later on. This would be the kind of area where you would have lots of examples of how to do things like business analysis. The fourth layer we've got is, we're calling it a repository of information. Now for us this is about a two-way element. This is about, like I said at the start, about if you've got a really good bit of work or something that you think works really well within your own area, it would be great if you could share it so that people see examples of best practice, or even if it's something that's not worked so well, it means you've got lessons learned that you could share with other areas so they don't go and make the same kind of, or have the same challenges as yourself. So I guess this is something that we are building up. We've got quite a bit of information in there already, but it would be great to see a lot more. So I guess we're looking for that as well as we develop on the framework. So I think that's kind of, in terms of the introduction about what the need was, and just to kind of summarise, obviously the need came from the change manager survey, it came from feedback we've had from councils, and what we've tried to do is build up a framework which I guess reduces duplication, it reduces people developing the same thing, and it's just an area for sharing some best practice. So Kelly's just going to run you through how to kind of make the most of the framework at this point.
Good morning, it's Kelly Hunkin, the Senior Business Analyst. So I'm just going to help you kind of navigate the SharePoint side. We showcased this proof of concept just on an Excel spreadsheet, and we came up with this diagram, and the idea behind it is really just to let people see what we can do, and look for people's ideas of how we can improve and make things better. So I'm just going to dive into the diagram first, and then I'm going to talk you through a different way of navigating. So that there are different types. People like visual, other people just like to have the list. So I'm going to show you how to navigate both ways, and then I'm going to show how we can do a search, and also talk you through some key documents that people have been asking about and been keen to have access to. So first of all then, just talking through the diagram, just as Claire said, it's based on plan, do, check and act, because we didn't want to go for a specific change or project methodology. We're trying to cover something that will be suitable for all 32 councils that we provide support for, and we all know that you use different types of methodologies out there, so it's not picking a specific methodology. So we start off in the change cycle from identify need. So that's about what are your drivers for change. At the top there of the screen we have your drivers for change. You can go into there, and that's where you talk about your PESEL analysis, where some kind of legislative change might be brought in, for example PSM, where you have to comply with it. That's drives your change, that you need to make a change, and then you follow through with the cycle. So first of all, you identify the needs that you need to make a change. You have to start thinking about what change you need to make, and so you start thinking about what differences you're going to have to make. So underneath that element for change management, we're thinking about what kind of things might affect the culture, the people, etc., and the softer kind of skills. Underneath your project management layer, that's where you would be thinking about your terms of reference or your PID, etc. So some councils, when we went out to visit them, they didn't have templates for project management. So the idea from this kind of area is to give people templates to use to follow best practice. So in there we've got templates for your project management side of things. And so things in there, we've got like a project mandate document, how to build a business case, stakeholder analysis, SWOT analysis, just things that get you start thinking about what you want to do. And then the next layer is all about your improvement processes. So that's talking about identifying your baseline as is, where you are at the moment, and thinking about where you want to go in the future and the difference between them. So the examples that we've got here, we've got loads of examples here that we're going to talk through the process costing and the benefits realisation later. So I won't click into them just now. But key documents that people have been asking for is we've got something called the data sources guide here, and quite often what we hear from people is I don't know what my as-is situation is because I don't have the data. So what we've done here is we've put together a list of all the different places that you can find data, and this is specific to councils where you would typically go and look for data. And what kind of information and what kind of data you can get from these different data sources and where it would be appropriate to use. So that's a really good document. We also have demand analysis. So when you start out on a project, you need to maybe gather more data. The data sources might not provide you with everything that you need. You might need to get down to a granular level, so then you might want to take out a demand analysis. So we've got demand analysis templates there. And what we'll also have there is also things about process mapping and customer journey mapping. And it's just tools to kind of get you to know what's happening with the process and what the current state is. Okay, so if we go back to the change framework, the next stage, once you've found out what your as is and where you want to go, you start thinking about how you're going to implement that. You look at your gaps. So for example, in that area, then that might be when you've built your business case and you've put in all your details that you've done analysis on, and you're starting to plan out your stages. So the next role is about planning, etc., and starting to look at your governance, etc., and how you're going to implement that change. Finally, the last two stages are about reviewing, continuously looking at, are you on target, are you on plans, etc. So we've got some documents in there, and the last stage is act on review, which is basically once you've implemented your change, you're thinking about, have I done it as I said I was going to do it? Have I got the benefits that realised that I said that I was going to have at the end? And so we've got some documents in there. So that's just how you can navigate through the diagram. But you've also got the option to go through this documents area where you can go straight into the areas that you want to look at. And it's just basically based on preference, whether you rather have a list of documents or you rather navigate through the diagram. So the exact same folders, etc., are still in this area. There's no difference. It's just whether how you want to navigate. There is also on the left-hand side here a search tab. So if you know what you want to look for, so for example, if I wanted to look for something that, say, well, the data sources guide, I just type in data and it would bring up all the list of stuff. If I want to look at something for benefits, then I can just type in that word and it brings it back. And I can look at all the tools that are there. Finally, the last area that I haven't discussed yet is the shared information repository. So this is really what we think is the unique selling point of the change framework. What we want to do is we want to reduce duplication. We want an area where councils and their partners feel confident that they can share information with each other so that they can learn lessons from each other and perhaps work more collaboratively together. So under this area at the moment, what we do is, as a team, we go out and support councils and help them with their service reviews, with their critical friend, etc. When we go out, we ask usually that when we carry out analysis or when we do a service review, we usually ask the council if it's okay if we share any work that we've done on behalf. And this is the area that we'll be starting to put all our work. So, for example, we've got a service review that we helped carried out in South Lanarkshire, so the revenue and benefits service review that we worked on there. And more recently, we've also done a review of business support services in schools as well, and had a look at councils throughout Scotland and had a look at kind of different models that they've got in place and where councils are with centralising admin or whether they're in cluster groups, etc. So we have a report on support services in there. We've broken it down into different areas of where you're doing your project, so it's on the project specific type that you're working on, and that's been based on feedback that we've got back from councils that they want it split down that way, that it makes more sense to navigate it that way. So finally, the last thing I would ask you to do is if you go in and have a little play around with the change framework, I'd like you to let us know what you think of it, and if possible, use the feedback form that we have on the front page just to let us know what your thoughts are and where we can go in making this better so it actually provides something that's of use to councils. Okay, thank you, and we're ready to take your questions on the change framework now.
Thank you very much, Claire and Kelly. If you want to ask a question, please use the little grey box on your screen. Thank you. We've got a first question saying, how do you find the change framework on Office 365?
Well, I guess for anyone that maybe sat in on the initial webinar back in August, at that point we weren't actually quite sure what platform to use, and we'd kind of tested a lot and went and spoke to various councils to see if anyone had kind of any ideas. We thought just as a starting point we would use it on 365, just because we ourselves at the Improvement Service have had 365 maybe for about a year or so. We're starting to see the benefits of how we can use it collaboratively. And thought we would test it on that. And obviously we know there's quite a lot of councils that are kind of moving maybe more towards whether it be Office 365 or some of the tools within it. And I guess that we thought it may be a good opportunity for people as well, just to kind of test that out as well. And I know one of the councils that we did showcase it was that their feedback had been that they actually quite liked being able to go into Office 365 and see how that works as well. So hopefully that might be of benefit to others as well.
And also, if you want to get access, you can email us at changemanagement@improvementservice.org.uk.
Absolutely.
With access. Yeah, thank you. All the questions we've got for now.
Okay, then it's back to me again, Kelly. I'm going to walk you through one of our tools that we've created. It's a process costing tool. So this was born out of myself going around councils and helping them, supporting them with channel shift particularly. Councils were asking about, okay, how do I actually cost my benefits that I'm going to get from channel shift without using the socket figures, because I know that the socket figures might be based on fully integrated systems where you do something on the web and it just automatically processes onto the back end, but realistically we're not going to get there for a long time yet. So how do we cost processes in detail so that it's realistic? So we did a bit of research and we found that there wasn't much process costing tools out there other than what's in manufacturing. And so we had a few councils that provided us with their templates, and we basically took their templates and merged them. And I should give credit to Fife and Orkney, who are the people that helped us build this template, and we've added extra bits on it. So we showcased the change framework, and we've asked a few councils to have a look at this template and go away and use it and give us feedback on it. So we have had some feedback today, so there might be bits on there that you think, but what we've thought we were going to do is, this is like version 1, and then we're going to collate all the feedback, and then based on the feedback we release like a version 2. So that it's a bit more controlled. So I'm just going to start off with how I would use the template. So the first thing you would really need to do for this template is you need to have a process map of where what your process does at the moment. I should also give credit to Fife Council for this, because the example that we're showing today is a worked example that Fife Council have filled in the template for us to trial out. This is based on out of hours reporting a fault working. So Fife Council has process mapped the process, and they've identified the people that are involved in the process, and they've identified any other resources or assets that might be used in the process. So the first step really is to go in and process map what currently happens. Once you've got that process map, then you can start using our process costing tool. Okay, so it looks really good here. So we've got so lots of different tabs. So the first thing we do is we map out the process, and we break it down into steps, and then we have to break the steps down to a granular activity level where we can see step by step, task by task, what's getting carried out and who's carrying out the task. We've put in 10 steps because we think at a high level that's probably as much as you'll need, but you can delete the different process steps if your steps are shorter. It's up to you how you want to use this. So what we would do is there's a tab for each step. So if I click into process step 1, it matches the process map that I've just shown you. So the first step is take the repair details, and then we've got in there the person, and then we work out how long it takes them to do that task and how often the success is that task is carried out. So as part of your process mapping, you should be asking how often the process follows that route and how often it doesn't. So the calculation includes any errors or any rework that you might have. So you write down the success rate, and then on the admin tab is where you add your people, that your costs. You can put in their grade, and then you put in their salary, including on costs, because that's a cost. So we just for ease, we've said that additional 30% is usually what's recommended. So we've actually put the salary in here and how many hours, and then worked out how much someone costs per hour. So on top of your staff costs for this process, we've also got a call-out charge, which is your out of hours call-out charge, and we've also got other charges as well that we've put in here. So when we've carried out the analysis, we've done the process map. For each step, we put in the costs for each step. And then what that does then is it summarises the total cost to an annual level, because most budgets work at an annual cost. So we've got that here. And you can see that we've got the different process step numbers on the left-hand side here. So if you want to look at the cost per process step, then that's what you can do. So we can see here that, you know, the second step is the step that's costing the most annually. We've also put in an area for analysis here, and this is where you can start thinking about where your savings can be made. So it identifies areas where you can remove bits and pieces from your process. Okay, so we've done our process map for our as-is, and we've put in the cost, so we know the cost now, so we've saved that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at our to-be process. So the future process, what we have done is we've removed the bits that are going to be automated by the mobile working. And then what we do is we can go back to the process costing tool, and this time we fill in for the to-be process. So this time we've got less steps. So the cost is reduced. So we can calculate the difference between the as-is and the to-be, and that would give us an accurate amount for putting into our business case. I should also mention that we've also included an optional area, and we've had some feedback from some councils about this failure mode effects analysis. It's about trying to look at ways to improve the process. So you might have heard failure mode effects analysis, which is a Lean Six Sigma term. If you click on the failure mode effect analysis tab, then what it shows you is any process steps where you have less than 95% effectiveness if it's going down the wrong route. So it brings back a list of all the different areas where you have errors going on. So, and you can change that figure depending on how good you think the process is. So 95% is quite high. So if we go for 50%, it would typically, because we're in the to-be process, so it's we're not going to bring back as much, but it brings back more of your steps where you can look at making improvements and where it would make the biggest impact. So it rates the step based on, you can type in how often it happens, what the impact is when the failure happens, and then it multiplies that together and gives it a number for you to start thinking about which areas are your priorities for improvement. So I think I've talked you through most of the tool. I'm just going to pass over to Claire, and Claire's going to go through the benefits realisation tool.
Thanks, Kelly. I think, like we said at the start, we're just kind of trying to give you a flavour of the change framework and some of the tools within it. And to be honest, probably the best way, although we'll have kind of talked you through a summary of it and we'll have the recording after it, it's probably not to go and maybe try them out for yourselves in your own organisations to see how they fit. Is there maybe areas that need tweaked or improved, which, like Kelly said, we are open to any suggestions that you have and any feedback that you can give us on us to improve these. And also, likewise, if you've maybe got, like for example, a benefits realisation tool that you think's working really well within your own council or your own organisation, please do share it with us, because we're happy to build in anything that might be helpful. So I'm going to run us through the benefits realisation tool pretty quickly here. So I guess some of the background to this was when we've been going out and talking with councils, the benefits realisation is an area that people are finding a bit of a challenge. They're maybe not necessarily identifying benefits at the start of a project. So once it came to project completion, they're sitting going, oh, I'm not quite sure what we were meant to achieve. Or some people, like Kelly said at the start, quite a lot of people are saying, well, I'm not actually quite sure where my data comes from to identify what my benefits are. And then there's some projects or service reviews, I guess, that obviously with the current financial climate are just being hit with, well, you need to have whatever it is, a 20% reduction on your service. So we're trying to say there's some good practice in here that for benefits realisation, you really should be doing it right at the very kind of first point of when you're thinking about a project. So like you can see here in this, again, it's an Excel tool and very similar to the process costing as well. We've got this overview tab which shows you at the various points, similar to the change framework, when you might use benefits realisation or at the different points. So like it says here, should absolutely be used at the kind of start of your project, and what it might be useful to do, and some people might do this already, but it might be at this point where when you're kind of starting to have a kind of idea about a project or looking at the data that you've gathered within your own kind of service review, at that point you might be wanting to hold a workshop to think about, right, well, what actually could be our benefits, and you maybe want to start to think about what a benefits map would be, and then from there then you go into the benefits tool. So again though, like I said, it's following all the way through the project life cycle. This isn't something that's maybe just used once and hidden away and never to be looked at again. It should be used all the way through the tool, and it will potentially change as you go through, because different factors within your own project. So I'll just kind of walk you through some of the other tabs in here that we've got. Should also say that this benefits realisation tool is both, as you can see at the bottom here, financial benefits as well as non-financial benefits. And this is where, when I mentioned about the change framework and linking, I guess, to kind of strategic planning, this is where you maybe want to start to bring in some of your other kind of outcome measures, if you like, because though your project might give you some financial benefits or financial savings, it could also be about improving outcomes for your community. So there might be thinking about some of the kind of key performance measures you would use in there and showing how you're going to improve this with it, with your change project. So again, that's something to bear in mind as well. Now, I guess as we kind of go through, as you can see, the kind of numbered order here, I guess some of the points here we said would be useful to do. And again, this is just based on our learning from being out with various councils and partners. It is really important actually to define what you mean. And this is, if you're going to use it within your own area, I guess you could do this once and it would be done. But just for here, we've obviously left it blank because there can be so many definitions of what people mean by whether it be a benefit or whether it be an outcome. So sometimes it's even just good to define what you mean within the context of your own project or your own programme. You also maybe want to start to think about where it's linking into your strategic outcomes and any potential assumptions you're making in your calculations. Now, like I said, your benefits map, this might be something you want to do at your very kind of first point before you've even started to look at this template, is think about what you're trying to achieve by delivering this project. And this can be really high level, but the important thing to do this with is do it with a range of stakeholders as well. If this project is going to be potentially like a channel shift project where you're involving members, where you're expecting the community to change how they operate, you need to be thinking what's in it for them. So that could be, for example, of moving to a kind of 24/7, so they don't need to stick to the usual 9 to 5 council business, and it means you could put in a request for whatever, like at any point in the day. So you need to be involving a wide variety of stakeholders. This is also important as well, that it's not just stuck with the project team, because as you're going into the kind of business as usual, you've delivered your project's completed. Sometimes the benefits aren't realised till kind of further down the line, so you need to make sure that within your own kind of service, your service manager or team leaders, etc., know what these benefits are and are quite happy with them, so that then they can report on the benefits of the project long after it's been completed. So the next tab along here we've got, again, similar to the process costing, this is literally just an admin task where you can put in some of your key things, and then it means it pulls all the way through the workbook. It just to save you typing in each time, etc. So some basic ideas about when the project starts, how long you're going to track it for, some key stakeholders. So the next tab we've got here is where you're really starting to put in your information. So your benefit, you might want to detail what type of benefit is, a short description, and at this point you would want to detail out what the priority would be in terms of linking it to your strategic outcomes, or if it's kind of financial based, is that going to be the kind of main priority? We've also got bits along here about who's going to be affected by the benefit, and this is where you really need to be thinking about the wider community and thinking about what it means for them. Or likewise as well, thinking about your own staffing group. We do so many projects that change how we do our internal processes, and we don't necessarily maybe think what the impact could be on the various different departments and other services we're interacting with. So it's thinking about that kind of whole stakeholder picture. At this point as well, like I was saying, it's really important that you know who's going to be responsible for the benefit during the project, but also, as this tab says here, or column says here, sorry, is about who's going to be doing it after the project's completed, who's going to be tracking it through business as usual, and are they clear that that's their role? And at this bit, obviously, we're in the financial tab, so it's about putting in what your kind of projected is, and then we've got an actual as well. And obviously we've got 4 years here, because if you go back to our admin tab, we said the period of the project was going to be for 4 years. So we've got 4 years here. If you said the project is 6 years, it would obviously just unblank those 2 columns here. So the next tab along we've got our non-financial benefits. And this is the bit where I was saying is where you want to maybe think about some of your key performance measures, some of your outcomes within your organisation, and how these are all linked together. So sometimes our projects aren't necessarily going to just give us a financial benefit, it's about the qualitative benefit as well. And this bit can be really important. So again, lots of the columns are the same along, same as the financial, just kind of marry it along. And then we've got our columns again for tracking it as we go through. So that should hopefully make sense there. And at this bit as well, what we're also saying within your projects, it's really important. We're all too quick at saying this project is going to save us, for example, £100,000, but we've not actually said to actually deliver the project itself, it could cost £200,000. So actually the savings null and void. So at this point, what we've said as well, you can capture your various costs for your projects in there as well. And then the last tab along the rows is just on our data sources, and that links back to if you're struggling to think, well, I'm actually not sure what some of my benefits are going to be, you might just even want to have a quick look through this tab and think, oh, actually, I've got information from whether it be local government benchmarking framework, there's publicly available data I can use. And then that means that you make sure that you've kind of covered off the kind of key benefits that your project's going to deliver. So just going back to the overview tab again, what we said is right at the start is about benefits realisation should be identified right at the start of your project conception. Probably if you've done a service review, you started to see, right, I know I need to do something there. At that point, you should be thinking, what's my project going to be and what I'm going to deliver. Then what we've got here is then this is at the point where you would maybe work with a variety of stakeholders and start to map out what your benefits could be and make sure everybody's ownership of these. At this point then you want to fill out your benefits realisation tool, your financial benefits if you've got any, your non-financial benefits, and then you're tracking the progress as you're delivering your project. Then you're wanting to review, and this is at the point where it's important to know your stakeholders and know that they've got it in as part of their business as usual. And at this point it might be a case of that some of the kind of key measures actually feed into your own kind of performance frameworks within councils so that they're tracked as business as usual rather than as a kind of separate project tool. And at this point as well, there might be some lessons learned that you could share with others about maybe what you've put down as a financial benefit and it maybe didn't quite get realised and why was that not realised. So that's maybe information at that point you want to share. So for us, the benefits tool, this has been developed from just in terms of identifying need from based on council feedback, but we're also kind of picking up on various points of best practice. But like I said, this really is a work in progress. So if there's anything anybody thinks, oh, it's maybe a bit much or it's not enough, because I think some of the feedback we've had today is there's interest of it having the risk element into it as well. So it'd be interested to hear any feedback people have got on that and whether that would be useful. So I think that's everything for me, Emily. So I think it's,
thank you, Claire.
There's any questions?
Yeah, if you want to ask a question again, please use the little grey box. We've got one which I think is for you, Kelly. What tools do you recommend for process mapping? And kind of going back to what you were showing earlier, could a more dynamic tool not do some of this benefits analysis?
Yeah, so I used to work in a council for 11 years before I came into this role, and we used something called ISOMA, which currently doesn't do this function, and across the 32 different councils, people are using different tools. There's people using Visio, there's people using the Sparks, which is the enterprise architecture tool. I wouldn't recommend a single tool because I think it's up to your council what they want to use and what's specific to your council. I'm sure there is tools that are out there that can do this on your behalf. I know that one tool has been quoted about £30,000 for having this functionality added into it. It's whether you think that that's a valuable cost, if it's worthwhile, but from our point of view, I've visited several councils who have said that this is the area that they're finding most difficult and they didn't know how to do it. So we came up with this process costing template to give them something to start off with and to work on. So that's the principle behind it.
Thank you, Kelly. That's all the questions we've got for now, so maybe give people a couple of minutes. While we're waiting, just a reminder that the recording from today's webinar and the slides will be available on Knowledge Hub and also the Improvement Service YouTube channel. But we'll send a follow-up email with details of that. And also at the end of the webinar, you'll be asked to fill out a short survey. So it'd be very much appreciated if you could take the time to give us some feedback. Anything else you would like to add?
No, I don't think so, thankfully. I think it's just, these really are just about giving you a bit of a demo and I guess a bit of an overview of what we've been working on over the last few months. And I mean, we're trying to develop these for yourselves and for councils and partners. So any feedback is really useful. I mean, obviously we've kind of ran through this today quite quickly, but if you would benefit from us maybe kind of coming along and meeting with you and the team or whatever, if that would be helpful, because we've done that in a couple of councils so far. And I think you get a bit more discussion that way rather than maybe doing the webinar style. Like, we're more than happy to do that as well, if that would be a benefit to anybody. But thanks. Nothing else from me, I don't think.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to say that, you know, if anybody needs help, then feel free to email us, and we'll come out and we'll help as much as we can.
We've just got another question, just again asking how to get access to the site, so I'll just put up our contact details.
Yeah.
So just send us an email and we'll be able to give you access.
Yeah, great.
Thank you very much for tuning in today.